Are we sure that democracy is still in our hands? Artificial intelligence no longer just writes texts, designs images, or predicts online purchases. Now it is entering the heart of elections. A surprising fact: in the 2020 US presidential elections, more than 10 billion digital interactions related to politics were generated. A figure so overwhelming that it is equivalent to every inhabitant on the planet having shared more than one political opinion on the internet. And a large part of that avalanche was organized, classified, and amplified by AI algorithms. Is this safe? Are we facing the greatest tool for citizen participation or the most sophisticated mechanism of manipulation ever created? The truth is that we are living a historic technological milestone. Artificial intelligence is already influencing how we think, how we vote, and how governments are won. The question is no longer whether it can do it, but how far it will go. Welcome to the new battlefield: AI and elections. The machine that reads our minds. Visualize a room full of screens. Every click, every like, every second you spend watching a video. Everything is being analyzed. AI converts that data into maps of your mind. What excites you, what worries you, what enrages you. During the 2016 elections, Facebook processed 4 petabytes of data a day. That is equivalent to all the information written in all the books in history, multiplied by 300. And all of it updated in real time. That capacity is not just statistical, it is strategic. It means that a candidate no longer sends a general message to millions of people. Now, thanks to AI, they can send 1 million different messages to 1 million different people, designed to strike right at the center of their emotions. Real example. In India, the world's largest democracy, with more than 900 million voters, electoral campaigns already use artificial intelligence to analyze regional accents, cultural preferences, and even styles of humor on social media. This way, a political message does not sound generic. It sounds as if your neighbor or your best friend had created it. The question is inevitable. Do we still decide? Or are the algorithms the ones that gently guide us toward a box on the ballot? Algorithms as invisible strategists. Imagine an invisible army that never sleeps. The algorithms track every word published on social media, detect emerging trends, and, before you yourself are aware of what you are thinking, they have already adjusted a political message for you. In Brazil, during the 2022 elections, it was recorded that more than 70% of the political conversation on Twitter was mediated by bots and automatic AI systems. That means that most of what a citizen read, shared, or responded to did not come from real people, but from programs designed to persuade. But it is not just about manipulation. In countries like Estonia, pioneers in the use of civic technology, AI also helps detect fake news before it spreads, thus protecting the integrity of the public debate. That is, the same algorithms that can polarize can also protect. The balance is delicate. Never before in history has a non-human system had so much power to define narratives, mold perceptions, and redraw entire electoral maps. Here the key question arises. If artificial intelligence can personalize an ad for you to buy a pair of shoes, how far can it personalize your political vision to the point of leading you to choose a president? Transparency versus manipulation. Artificial intelligence is a mirror, but it can also be a mask. A mirror because it reflects what we think, what we feel, and what we share in real time. A mask because it can hide the truth behind messages designed to move our emotions. The dilemma is brutal. How do we know if a political campaign is informing us or manipulating us? A clear fact: in the 2019 European elections, the European Commission estimated that more than 30% of the political information circulating on networks contained some degree of distortion, from exaggerations to fake news. And behind a large part of that misinformation were automated algorithms, optimized to make what generated the most emotional impact go viral. Manipulation becomes invisible. An ordinary user believes they are choosing what to read. But in reality, it is the AI that orders what appears first, what is hidden, and what is amplified. It's as if, before you went to vote, someone had redesigned your mental map without you knowing it. However, there is a bright side. In countries like Canada, electoral auditing algorithms have been implemented that are capable of tracking in real time the origin of digital political advertising. This means that a citizen can verify who is paying for an ad, who it is directed to, and with what specific message. In other words, digital transparency becomes a shield. Striking example. In Taiwan, an AI system detects in minutes whether a viral news story is true or false, contrasting thousands of sources and alerting users with a digital seal. In 2020, this mechanism helped reduce the spread of fake news by 40% during the electoral process. A figure that shows that the same weapon that polarizes can also protect. The clash is inevitable. On the one hand, parties that use algorithms to hyper-personalize messages and win votes. On the other, governments and institutions that try to use AI to guarantee transparency. It is a constant struggle between manipulation and defense, between the algorithm as executioner and the algorithm as guardian. The digital citizen. In this new scenario, the voter is no longer just a citizen. They are a data profile. Age, location, interests, screen time, even the exact time they are usually most receptive to reading political news, everything is recorded. On average, a social media user leaves more than 5,000 digital footprints per month. 5,000 traces that, for an algorithm, are enough to build a psychological portrait with 90% accuracy about your political orientation. This opens a fascinating debate. Do we vote out of conviction or out of algorithmic recommendation? An emblematic case occurred in Kenya in the 2017 elections. Data analysis companies used psychological profiles of voters to send ultra-segmented messages. Some received messages of hope, others of fear, and others of national pride. Each citizen a different narrative. The result? People believed they were informing themselves freely, but in reality they were inside a massive political experiment. The impressive thing is that this level of personalization is no longer limited to million-dollar campaigns. With open-source AI tools, a local party with a low budget can create targeted messages, almost as effective as those of a great political power. Democracy becomes a game where the size of the money is no longer the only advantage. Now, the key is, who has the best algorithm? The ethics of the algorithm. Who watches the machine that watches democracy? That is the great ethical question of our era. Algorithms do not vote, they do not give opinions, they do not have an ideology, but the human beings who program them do. And a small adjustment in a line of code is enough to tip the electoral balance to one side or the other. A clear example. In 2018, researchers at Princeton University showed that a recommendation algorithm could increase exposure to extreme political messages by up to 20%, simply by changing the priority in its classification system. There was no fraud, there was no direct manipulation, just an adjustment in how the information was displayed. The impact, however, was equivalent to a megaphone placed in the hands of the most radical speeches. In France, during the 2022 presidential elections, AI protocols were implemented to detect political deepfakes. More than 50,000 manipulated contents were identified in just 2 months. Ethics became concrete action, protecting the voter from falling for deception. But the question is, who decides what falls into the category of deception? The line is so fine that today, electoral ethics no longer depend only on politicians. It depends on engineers, programmers, and global technology platforms. Democracy is literally in the hands of developers. The future of digital voting. If algorithms already decide what we see and how we think, the next great frontier is the vote itself. Can artificial intelligence administer entire elections? Some countries are already taking the first steps. In Estonia, a pioneer in digitalization, more than 50% of voters participated in electronic elections in 2019. The entire system was supported by verification and encryption algorithms. The result: greater participation and lower costs. The numbers are astonishing. An MIT study calculated that, with large-scale manipulation algorithms, it would be possible to influence a margin of 2% to 3% of undecided voters in a national election. It may seem like little, but in countries like the United States, that margin has decided entire presidencies. Digital voting can be the most powerful tool for citizen participation in history, or the breaking point where trust in democracy collapses. We are entering a field where ethics, security, and technology are mixed like never before. A field where the citizen, the programmer, and the politician share the same responsibility to decide how we want artificial intelligence to model our democracies. As is known, democracy has always been a conversation between citizens. But today, in the 21st century, that conversation has a new guest: artificial intelligence. Algorithms no longer just count votes. They no longer just organize campaigns. They are learning from us at a speed never seen before. Every search, every click, every online emotion becomes a piece of a puzzle that reveals how we think as a society. In this scenario, power no longer resides solely in parties or candidates. It resides in the ability of those who control AI systems to influence the course of history. And the most amazing thing is that this influence is not measured in centuries, not even in decades. It is measured in seconds, in millions of micro-decisions that occur daily on our screens. But the future is not a threat, it is an opportunity. An opportunity to create more transparent, accessible, and participatory elections, where voting is as simple as sending a message and as secure as the best encryption technology. Imagine an entire generation that grows up trusting an AI-backed electoral system, where misinformation is detected instantly and every citizen has a real voice in collective decisions. That future is closer than we think. The big question that remains for us is, will we use artificial intelligence as a beacon that illuminates democracy, or as a shadow that distorts it? The answer will depend not on technology, but on how we decide to integrate it into our lives. Because in the end, AI does not vote. We are the ones who do. And our challenge is clear: to ensure that in the future, democracy remains human.